and welcome back to the Random Horror Show. I am your horror podcast host, is Keisha Lacey, coming straight out of the Piney Woods, or the Iron Pine Curtain of East Texas, as we call it down here. And of course, I have a really good, good show tonight. Hope you enjoy, and of course, the Random Horror Show as we go about it and everything else. We be goofy, silly, with some random like film commentary in horror, science fiction, fantasy, cult classics, and the obscure in movies, television, and books. And thank you for joining me at tonight's podcast. Will be the town film, the film of it, the town that dreaded sundown. And um, this is actually loosely based on murders that like happened in Texarkana, Texas, and Arkansas. And it was called, the Moonlight Murders, or the Moonlight Killer. Um, Now, back in those days, Texarkana, Texas, and Texarkana, Arkansas, were small. The town of Texarkana is actually it's a pretty big motherfucker city and everything. You would not believe it, but it borders on Texas and Arkansas. Doesn't take you that long to get to Texarkana, really, and everything, just depending on what side you want to be on, the Texas side or the Arkansas side. You name it, you want it. Pick your poison, which side you want to be on, Texarkana. But this film is based on the murders that did happen back in 1946. There was, it started off as like, kids going on lovers lane, they gonna get the necking and pecking and copping a feel, and which leads to sex. And there was some guy that had this like sack over his face, and he had like these holes, these really dreaded just just a messed up ass like holes that was cut for eyes. And he killed them. It was about like eight in total. I believe three of them actually survived. They did pin the murder. There was like a very big uh, uh, big thing and stuff, because this like rocked the small town of Texarkana, Texas, and Texarkana, Arkansas. This was a very huge safety issue. People were afraid to like ever go out at night, because this monster was just roaming on the backwoods. We have a lot of backwoods. That is a very popular place if you want to get your freak on and everything. You know what I'm saying? You're going to like bump them, shit. You're going to like spread cheeks and everything, clap cheeks. You go on back roads. That's what people still go on back roads and everything. I mean, hey, if you watch Cheaters and stuff like that, there's people that do go on back roads to get it on and everything. But but it was very devastating for both sides to experience something like this. They did catch the guy. The wife was very, she pleaded the fifth a lot. She pleaded the fifth. And then there was a movie that was made back in 1976 that was, pretty much telling the story of how this guy like took the lore, actually these loosely based murders called the Moonlight Murders and everything, and he made the movie, and it was very, very popular um, during that time. Um, and then Blumhouse um had like seen, and like this is actually a really like Blumhouse is actually did a really good job, and I was very surprised at Blumhouse, because Blumhouse usually just throw out some movies and stuff. We had Fantasy Island that like tanked and everything. I love Fantasy Island and everything, but like the whole movie was just a disaster. Um, basically, when they got on the island, I knew it was gonna be crap. It had some good moments, but Bloomhouse is more of like a hit and miss with them. But I was very, very impressed with how Bloomhouse really did understood the 1976 one, as well as really getting down like the whole story. And also this is a continuation of like those Moonlight Murders that rocked um, both sides of the both sides of Texas and Arkansas, just right, for Texarkana. Now if you've gone to go to Texarkana anytime soon, it's kind of like that a little bit, because it has changed quite a bit. I know I have a very, very old friend. His second wife, his second ex-wife, her brother was murdered senselessly. She comes from Texarkana, and that really shook her to the core that her brother was senselessly murdered in Texarkana. There have been, there, I don't know now, but I know the gangs were really bad in Texarkana. And I remember I drove through Texarkana, going through Arkansas, and I was like, "Holy crap! I'm in Texarkana!" And suffice to say, it still had that. When you go into like the downtown area, it does have that very small town charm. A lot of towns that in Texas still have like the old buildings. There's a lot of local businesses that do rent these buildings out, and they have businesses there. Some flourished, some died due to like different time periods within the town. You have like your oil boom, you had all kind of different things that was going on, and it was like towns that was like extremely populated. And then once like jobs may have companies may have left, big companies have left, there goes the town right there. But you still have thriving small towns like St. Augustine, Center, you name it. I mean, there's still like that small rural town in Texas, which also I'm going to like point out. Um, we had like Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and of course, there's a movie that just came out last month called X. Um, there, I'm so sick of like we're gonna set everything in small Texas towns. We're gonna just set up the whole premises of like a horror movie. Yes, it is. It's a very intriguing set up right there. Like, ooh, terror, horror, murder, mystery, mayhem. In a small Texas town. Um, I am a little tired of that. I would like to see a good horror movie, something like that that's based like in a small midwestern town, or I find that to be intriguing, a little bit exotic. small town in Tennessee, a small town in Alabama or Mississippi. There's a lot of small rural towns. Even in Louisiana, I mean, Louisiana has some really good small like towns where you can set like a horror movie plot with it and stuff. But just given the fact that some small town, like the whole small town Texas town thing, and I'm over it. I'm definitely over it. But with this movie, I was like, okay, are they gonna mess it up or whatever? Let me give this a chance and everything. But I do like this one of 2014, the town that dreaded sundown. I um I was very impressed. Just because it had like a low box office of like when you buy a 4 bedroom, 2 bath, maybe 2.5 bath, maybe you get a small swimming pool budget of $120,459. That is a pretty good steal, like on the housing market whenever it was actually good and you actually can afford to like get a house like on maybe like 6%, mortgage rate or something like that, with a pretty good down payment. Um, I feel that like when people see stuff like that, they just like, oh, it didn't do very well. Maybe because like the marketing was wasn't present, or it was a lack there of market, but of this movie. But I like this movie because it it really do captures of the first movie, and then of course it is based loosely off of a real small town tragic horror murders that has in reality has happened. And I applaud to like Blumhouse for doing this and everything. And the person who really started this, who have did this, is Charles B. Pierce. He is a native of Texarkana. I don't know what side, Texas side, Arkansas side, but he started this up. I feel that this movie does deserve some more recognition with it. It is very underrated, um, particularly that this is a continuation um, of and of the Phantom Killer, from the first movie, The Town That Dreaded Sundown. Even though they both share the same title, this is more of like decades from it. And I just like that. I like that right here. But you also have a really great cast. You have Allison Timlin. You got Anthony Anderson, you got Gary Cole. Come on now, Office Space Gary Cole, Mr. Brady Bunch, Cole, Gary Cole. That damn Gary Cole is something else though. He is something else. I mean, the cast is like really awesome. I mean, you have Veronica Cartwright. Come on now, Veronica Cartwright in Alien. She was in the Witches of Eastwick. You know, um, gee whiz, she knows her way around a good slasher horror film. I mean, she was an alien, man. And then you got Edward Herman. Edward Herman. Edward Herman, man, that was like on Lost Boys, who was the head vampire. The head vampire was trying to get Diane Weiss to be his vampster chick and everything, and turn her boys into his stepson vampires and join my Lost Boys and everything. Edward Herman, man, come on now, like, seriously. And then not only you had Edward Herman, who was the head vampire in the Lost Boys, you have Dennis O'Hare. Come on now. Come on, people. Dennis O'Hare, Russell Edgington, Liz Taylor of American Horror Story, Hotel. You know, Dennis O'Hare is a really a very talented actor, and when he played Russell Edgington on True Blood, he was my favorite vampire because that freaking line that y'all remember that scene that he did, you know, of him coming out like, look, people, you humans, I'm tired of this shit. I'm about like over 1,000 years old and everything. A little bit more. And y'all want to think like, oh, we're friends with vampires because you remember Nan, how she was with the Vampire League and shit, trying to make like the PR of like, oh, vampires are just not gonna suck all human blood and we're not gonna be doing all that. Russell Edgington snatched all them vampire teeth and edges and everything when he got on that damn newscast though. That was like the season finale of like True Blood. I believe it was going into like season 3, and that's when he snatched that news reporter Hort and he said, I will eat your children. Boy, I was just like on the floor. I was on the floor. I mean, he literally like just like, I'm just pun intended. He just put his stake through my heart, and I just cracked up laughing and fell back into a coffin and died when he did that. I could not stop laughing. That right there with Dennis O'Hare playing Russell Edgington, and he was the baddest motherfucking vampire, and Pam was too. I love Pam and I love Russell Edgington. But Dennis O'Hare is in this movie. He plays Charles Pierce Jr. As the son of Charles Pierce, of, you know, having this theory about who is restarting back the murders in Texarkana. And I have one myself, and you know, I just said I particularly am not a fan of like everything has to start, you know, in a small rural Texas town and rock, blah blah blah. But real life, we had some elderly women that were brutally sexually assaulted. They were raped, and they were murdered in their homes. Um, It was one in Troop, Texas. I'm not that far from Troop. That is in Cherokee County. And it was two of them, I believe, that was in Overton, Texas, which is about 20 minutes away, just right up the street from me in Rusk County of where I live. Uh, they never found who murdered these defenseless, like elderly women. And that right there really rocked both of these towns. Now, these towns of Troop, Texas and Overton are about like 20 minutes apart. And this case, I mean, they were both they were brutally murdered in the same fashion. It was somebody that knew them, somebody that they trusted. They made it look like it was a break in or whatever. Um, and this was just, it was heinous. It was so heinous of how this person, and I believe this person is still, he's still walking around. And the MO of this person who did this to these poor defenseless elderly women has an MO of just this disturbing perversion of, you know, just, he has like this really deep-seated hatred, um, I don't know, towards elderly women. And I was just taken back, you know, of when the last one that happened. and people were scared in both towns. And this is like, these towns are like 20, 25 minutes away from each other. And people had to lock their doors. There was like, I mean, it was a big, huge panic. There's like, at the time when these murders happened, there was a nursing home that I used to work at in Troop. It's shut down, made into like a halfway house and everything, which is really good to help people out. Um, you cannot imagine like how not the community have felt, but you have um, nursing homes, and in these two little towns, and for them to like actually like double down and be very secure in security and things like that, because of things, this rocked like both towns of what happened. And you had very older, middle age, to like elderly women that lived alone, just just watching their backs because of this what happened. And I just can't forget, like, you just cannot forget, and it still haunts me that this person is still walking around. And like, they never did find the person that really did it, but there are rumors that this person who has um they're a little bit known. I'm just speaking on rumor mill, of what I heard, and is somehow have a connection with law enforcement. I don't quote me on that, but this is just rumor mill that I have heard years back of why this person is still walking around. And I'm so afraid. I just don't want nobody to like forget that this could happen again. Because you know how serial killers are. They go dormant, something triggers, and they do it again. And we all don't feel very safe in rural areas. I mean, I don't care if you live way off in BFE or you live in a really small town with a population of under 500 or 1,000. We all lock our doors. And we can't be too careless, because long time ago we used to not lock our doors, and it was no reason to lock your door, because I mean, ooh, my hand itching. I'm getting some money. Because there was like no reason for it, but that is a real, that's it's real. And it still haunts me today. Bless their souls that they went through something so terrible, because there was this, the monster is still out there, and this monster just took their life, and we don't know what was his motive really of doing this to these three elderly women that is two towns apart, not that far in distance. This was premeditated, and it is really calculated. I don't know if the family got any word or any type of justice with this, especially, with this is somebody's grandmother, this is somebody's great aunt or aunt, somebody's mother, that has been brutally murdered in a really cold-blooded fashion. And the details are very chilling to the bone. And it's the same thing like with the real life Moonlight Murders, of how grisly and chilling to the bone how these victims have been murdered and everything. But again, the town that Dreaded Sundown has that same type of vibe. We have Jami. You see how like when I just went all into that, just boom like that, it just happens like that. But Jami um, is a sole survivor of the same thing that has happened. She is with her boyfriend. They are in watching the movie, the old movie of the town that dreaded sundown in 1976, where it was like a tribute, a memorial, a dedication. This is like paying respects back of what they did. It was like that really nice. Like I love how they have that set, with the drive-in. The teenagers are watching the movies from their cars and stuff like that, and which actually like gives the teenagers something to do because there's a lot of things in small towns that don't have a lot of activities for teenagers and things like that. And so yeah, they she couldn't watch it because it was too violent. She felt very uncomfortable. And with that, we're gonna find out why she was so uncomfortable, and there's a big story behind Jami, what's gonna be unfolding. So her and her boyfriend Corey's that typical, I have like great parents, and my dad, he went to Texas Tech, and my family went to Texas A&M and all that shit. You know what I'm saying? Look at a football scholarship, blah 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 blah. He was that type of guy. I mean, it was like that whole, and you know what, and that's the reason why I like it, because they understood that whole Texas teenager romance, because that shit is so weird. It may feel so stereotypical, but it does exist, and it does not make any sense. And I'm like, phew, I'm so glad I escaped that, when I was in high school. And guess what? There was a guy peeping at them while they were finna get hot and heavy in the car, making out and getting ready to have sex. He was in a burlap sack, badly cut eyeballs and everything, eye hole sacks in there, and in the sack part, you know what I'm trying to say. And he just kept staring, and then of course he comes, he busts out the window. He tells Corey to get on the ground. He straddles Corey on his butt and pull his pants down. Yeah, I told Corey to pull his pants down. I was like, okay, we're gonna be all like that. And then all of a sudden it started to feel like we did that. I was like, oh, this is kind of feeling like a snuff film, like a 70s snuff. Uh, like down, we in the basement. We gotta watch this snuff film because it's like that type of film, like off a 8mm or something. And then she sees that Corey is getting stabbed by the phantom killer. She turns around, and I liked how they had the blinking light of, like, you see the shadow of the phantom killer stabbing Corey in the back, and the shadow is casting from the car light onto this red, dirt hill. And she turns around, she takes off running. Um, he takes off running too. And I'm just like, does this fool have the fucking speed of Michael Myers or something and Jason Voorhees? Because this is really ridiculous. And he catches up to her. All we know is that she's running back to the drive-in little movie that they were playing, the movie, and she's crying, she's distraught, she's in shock. And it's all happening again, and he tells her to remember Mary. And she was like, who the hell is Mary? So she is the sole survivor of this brutal attack. Corey is dead. Corey's mom blames, her for the death of her son, and it was like she was paying her respects, and she was trying not to feel guilty because that's you can't do all that. And she was just calling her a slut and stuff. I'm like, oh my god, come on now, mom. Like, I understand your son's dead and everything, but seriously, um, she just, she was just distraught over her son being, getting brutally murdered, and she's the only survivor. We come to find out that Jami is living with her grandmother, who is played by Veronica Cartwright. She has guardianship over Jami because Jami's parents was killed in a car wreck. Um, the car wreck, she feels, was her fault. It was a sleepover that she had with her friends, and the friend's dad pretend to be the Phantom Killer as a little prank joke to scare the girls, during their sleepover. Well, that bothered Jami at 12 years old, and she's like, "No, I don't play that shit. I just come over here to eat some popcorn, watch some scary movies. We do the little girl, 12-year-old girl shit, braid hair, paint nails, talk bad about some little old girl, how her she smelled like pee and everything else." She was looking forward for something like that. So she had a very normal childhood until he did that, and she was just like, "I don't play that." And so she called her parents. There was a wreck. Her parents were killed instantly in the wreck. She was the only survivor. She had a lot of grief. She had a lot of depression. She was on so many medication, and so it changed her because she seen her parents was dead, and she carried that grief and that guilt with her for a long time. Like, if I didn't make that call, my parents will still be alive. But she got off her meds. She chose to deal with it on her own terms and not be drugged up as a zombie, because she wanted to um, uh, feel something again, and she knows that it's not her fault, and she goes to therapy for it. And then, since Corey has been murdered right in front of her, well, and everything else that night, this is like pulling back all of that guilt and stuff that she thought she has conquered because of her parents, getting killed in the car wreck instantly, and she blamed herself for that. Now she's feeling that same dread of blaming herself again for Corey's death. And it actually pulls a lot from the old movie. You had more murders. It was a couple, of course, there's some TNA up in here and everything. Soldier comes home, sees his girlfriend. Oh, they hump like motherfucking rabbits in that hotel room like it was nobody motherfucking business. They was knocking windows off the wall, paint, everything else, crown molding and shit. I get it. I get it. I was like, hey, I'd be the same thing too. If I had a boyfriend that I ain't seen in months and months and everything, I'm so happy to see his ass. I'll be pulling my drawers off too when we get inside the car. But they were murdered at the hotel. I was like, well, damn, this murderer actually, this phantom kill actually works very fast. And that is the part right there that we're going to come to in a little bit. Um, but yeah, there was more murders, and oh my gosh, this is where you drag in Lone Wolf Morales of the Texas Rangers. People were having a town meeting, both sides, because they were like, look, this is a problem, this is happening again. We don't want this shit right here, because now the citizens experienced this back in 1946. Now we seeing this shit again? Come on now. Could it be the same person? No, it's not. This dude is dead. They're like, what's up? Could be a copycat killer. And then of course we have we have the preacher who is played by Edward Herman, Reverend Hardwood. He was basically, and I'm anonymous, and I'm a testament to this right here. You do have, it is very very religious. This is the Bible Belt. This is the Bible Belt, and I'm just gonna say it. Texas is in the ass crack of the Bible Belt. You know, we are straight up in the booty hole. Um, Probably a little bit more like in the colon, probably tickling the prostate and everything, but we're right up in there. And he brings up points of like how it's demonic, you know, people, you know, this man, the sinners, you know how it is. They gotta throw up all the church shit and everything, all the religious stuff. And it was like some people that brought their Bibles and talking about how much we done pulled Jesus out the schools and all this rock and roll and all this sinning and this sex and you know, y'all showing the demons work, you know, the devil's work with this movie. This movie has warped people's minds and blah blah blah. And y'all worse, you know, it's shit like that. You hear my accent coming out, my twang and stuff. Yeah, I'm talking like them. I'm talking like them. This is like what I have experience of this type of stuff, especially when you in smaller towns. They are a lot of them are good people, but a lot of them are very afraid. They're closed-minded. Anything different, oh my God, that's the devil. We're bringing sin in. Yes, it's like that. It's like that. That's the reason why I keep to myself. I really do. And you have Charles Pierce. He was just like, oh my gosh, these people and everything. But now this is the straight reason why I like this movie is because you feel that Charles Pierce Jr. is since he is his father made this film, um, the film that they watch, that you know it makes him more of like a very suspect. You know, like he's very sus because he knows the movie, the material, the everything else like that. Because he can be easily pinned as like the Phantom Killer, but guess what? He really isn't. He just knows his shit about this and everything. Kind of have like a little bit of a scream feel with it. And you get what I'm gonna say. So you have Nick. Nick has been had a huge crush on Jami. You know, Jami goes to like research about the history of the murders that has happened in her town. She heard bits and pieces from the older people and stuff, and so she's like, I'm gonna, you know, this has happened to me, and you know, I'm not gonna run away. I'm definitely going to like find evidence and things like that to link this up because I don't want nobody else to get hurt, you know, in this town. And you know, she didn't have to do that and everything. She really didn't want to, you know, stay like kind of a victim and stuff. So that's what she did. There was also a guy who pretended to be the Phantom Killer. He showed up at the candlelight vigil for the soldier that has been murdered, his girlfriend, and also for Corey. He was shot and killed on instant. Come to find out, it was a guy that had emotional issues. He was very suicidal, so he found an opportunity way to off himself like that, of pretending like, hey, I'm the like Phantom Killer. You know, it was a cop out way for him to like leave this earth. But they felt like they did get the murderer, the killer, the Phantom Killer, um, which later on they found out it wasn't him that they shot at the candlelight visual blah, 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 it's a hard word. There was two teenage boys that were you know, at a banquet. They played in the jazz band and they were entertaining the mayor. On the other side, I believe it was the Arkansas side, and they were the next victims in the murders and stuff. They were very watched, you know, and they were two boys. They was just like, you know, they was trying to figure out, you know, their sexuality and everything, and you could tell they really liked each other and stuff. and they were murdered. I was like, oh my God, why they gotta murder the little teenage boys? I was like, man, they would just, I was like, they can't, they, they just, they just want to have some time alone. They want to make out. They had to keep that secret, and that is another thing right there is that a lot of times, you still have that stigma where gay you know like especially teenagers that really are finding out they are attracted to the same sex and everything. They have to keep that a secret. Some come out and everything else, but you still have like a bit of that backlash, especially in a small town. You still have like people that are like even in small towns you still have that right there, that backlash. But the more openness that people have with especially with LBGTQ students and everything, you have some love with that. But for them, they have to keep it a secret. They were murdered. Wow. And it was in the same fashion as just like the first movie. Nick and Jami, they did get together. I find it like a little bit inappropriate in a way, but because I was just like, damn girl, like your boyfriend got killed and everything. I mean, I know Nick is cute and stuff, but I'm kind of like, but in a way, I kind of feel the reason why that has developed, because ever since her tragic story with her parents instantly getting killed, it did make her into an outsider. And you know, people kind of find her to be very weird, very closed off, things like that. I mean, she was liked, but it was people like, the students, her peers, was still kind of like, I don't know, like she's kind of weird, what I'm saying? She's the one that like, you know, actually, that was her fault that her parents died, shit like that. A lot of people don't understand that, especially they don't have like empathy or compassion of with somebody that has had um have to deal with death. And I do see that like with her and Nick getting together, because he was very understanding. He did cross the line with her. She got upset, and she wasn't playing that shit and everything, and that's good. And she's like, yo, you stepped over my boundaries. Like, get the fuck out of my car. Get the fuck out. And he apologized. I mean, he did not go, oh girl, you being like that, forget you and your stupid shit and everything. But he really liked Jami, and he was like, yo, I have a chance, I'm not gonna like rush this shit with her. She really do need somebody to comfort her, to like, to help her out, like very emotional support for her. And that was really nice. He was very genuine. It was very nice and very genuine of Nick to be there for Jami, and her grandmother too. She was very alone in this situation, but she had Nick and she had her grandmother. Now, the sheriff gets killed. Gary Cole, who plays the sheriff, he gets killed. God dang it, man. God dang it. I was like, man, that is a messed up way to get murdered. You're having the best time of your life. You're getting head and you get shot in the eye. I was like, oh my God. Point blank, he got shot. And I was like, oh my God, that is so unfair. I was like, his killing was so, that was the most unfair killing ever. And I was like, this man was receiving the best head of his fucking life, and he gets killed. I was like, Jesus. And of course, the lady of the evening, she got killed too. Um, Same pattern, same fashion. They was found. It was really getting bad. They decided to leave town, and this is where it gets so, oh my gosh, I just could not believe this. I was like, it was, I was just like, oh my gosh, really? That's like how I was into this movie, because I could not believe in this scene that Jami and her grandmother were leaving. She gives the deputy a a big huge file of what she compiled from interviewing Charles Pierce Jr. and the files that she found in the courthouse about the Phantom killings, the Phantom killer and the murders with it, and they compile their theories and everything, and to help them out, because she had so much good intentions for like this to stop, and she did not want anybody else to get harmed in her town. And so she decides to, hey, I guess I go to college in California, leave out of Texas and everything, and my grand's gonna be with me, and I'm gonna be with my uncle, and I'm gonna be safe, and she's like, I can finally live a normal life and everything. But God, dog, that scene was just so, oh, that was so jarring right there. Oh my God, her grandmother gets shot. I was just like, no. And there was other people that got shot. Oh my God, it felt like it was like just straight something that like you would see in action movies, that taking like hitman shots. I was just like, oh my God. I mean, I'm like, poor Jamie. I'm like, oh my God. And I was like, no, not her grandma. I was like, damn, that was a family though. I'm like, I felt that shit. Well, this is the last scene, the final act in this. Jami was taken off, and she was just like, you know what? I'm sick of this shit. She's like, shit, I'm gonna fight back. And it was right by the railroad, like the last victim that has they found, that was split and things like that, and then there was the cutoff of like all the murders. And come to find out that Mr. Corey ain't dead. Mr. Corey is live and well. Corey, Corey was so spoiled, so rotten and fucking entitled, that he was so jealous of Jami. He had this underlying resentment and hate towards Jami. Even they were dating too. That she has this very bright future of leaving Texas, that she does not have to follow into the family footsteps like he had to do, with his lineage, his parents, and his grandfather and uncles. You know how that shit is. That these people has predestined his future, for him to do the same thing like them, and he felt that was so freaking unfair, that she can forge her own life. She has been through hell and back. She has her grandmother. That's the only relative that she has that's in Texas, and that she has like bigger opportunities and chances to get out of that small Texas rural town. And I'm going to explain about that stuckness and everything. And of course, he gets shot. And then she was like, oh shit, this is like some Scream shit right here. We got two motherfucking murderers right here. And guess who it was? It was the deputy that has been watching her all this time as for surveillance. While he sits there and watches her to be on his job, Corey, on the other hand, who faked his death, was doing the same repeated murders just like they did back in 46. Um, for for Corey, it was something fun. It was something that, yeah, take that, motherfuckers. He he was disturbed, and to me, for him to go out with Jami, I think he was one of those sociopaths that fed off of Jami's tragedy that happened to her of losing both of her parents, his hatred towards her, of the better opportunities that she has, and he was just so boiling with this like just this unbridled hate towards Jami, and it was fueled by his hate. That's the reason why they concocted this, and then come to find out that this deputy that was watching her is actually the son of the phantom killer, and she shot his ass. She pulled a fucking Sydney on his ass, like Sydney did Billy Loomis, and his body floated in the swamp. They couldn't find him, and she went off to California. She went to college. She was free. She missed her grandmother. She didn't have any family. She lived with her uncle, and then we see this foreshadowing of somebody following her while she was walking to her dorm room, and that was the end of the movie. And I like I said, Blumhouse really did do a wonderful job of this movie. It does like open how people can feel very stuck in a small town. Some people have different circumstances. Some people got married very young and had kids very young, divorced and everything, the typical shit like that. Some actually have family that hold them back, of how Corey felt. He feels that his family was holding him back. They have predestined his whole, planned his life for him, that where he does not have to worry. But Corey was really just want to have a voice for himself and everything. You have like so many things about small towns. People think they're idyllic, people think they're boring, and things like that. But there is action, but sometimes the little action that a lot of small towns will get would actually are not the best ones. You do have drugs. You do have a lot of shady, crooked law enforcement, as we've seen with the deputy who's actually is the son of the Phantom Killer. Actually, it was his grandfather that was a Phantom Killer, as like the movie have produced, and his father, and then he had a son, which is the deputy coming. You also have it where you he made it to like where how this town like actually worshiped this movie of these real life murders that happened. And when he took that spot of becoming the Phantom Killer, and of course like having Corey to help him out, so he could easily make it look like, it's just one person, it's actually two. um that he's like, remember that legacy, remember, you know I'm still here. And I I thought that was very, very clever of that, to have like that continuation of it with another generation. It was like people have forgotten about it. People went on about their lives. Excuse me, I need some water. I don't have any water. There was some Arnold Palmer that I made. Excuse me. And they did. It was like, remember, we gonna rock this. We rocked this cat town about 50 some years ago, and we're gonna rock this bitch again. And it was basically a revenge um movie. It really was. And I feel that they did a really great job with the source material of keeping it in the same stride as like the first one. Um, I believe the actors who did a wonderful job were having really good names. Even Ed Lauder was in this movie. Really did a great job. Um, you know, it does have a bit of that scream like the Last Girl Standing or Survivor, like Sidney Prescott. We have this with Jami, but it was very vague at the end of like, is this, somebody continuing on to off Jami to keep this phantom um, killer spirit alive, or it's just somebody just falling behind her. Um, it's showing that she's letting her guard down. But I like that good old mystery, that good old horror slasher mystery and everything. But I do recommend y'all watch this movie though. And one of my becoming a really favorite one of mine, even though I'm so sick of the whole based in a small Texas rural town trope that they use as a setup for like horror slasher movies or mystery movies or anything else like that. But this one in particular does have like a reality based loose based story with it. That's what makes it very a really, really good one. Don't knock a movie by the cover. Um, you know, Blumhouse really did do an excellent job on this movie, and I wish Blumhouse would come out with more movies that actually has like a lot of substance that they did with this one. They really did take a lot of care with it. I know Ma, they did Ma. Ma was just crazy and everything. That was a crazy movie from Blumhouse, but this one from Blumhouse, I like commend them for doing this movie. I really do, and I was very impressed, and I was very into it, and I'm yelling and screaming and shit and everything, and it kept me on my toes. It really did. It kept me on my toes. It didn't even drag. I didn't feel this movie dragged. And if it's a draggy ass movie, I wouldn't even be talking a lot about it, but um, I felt the pacing was really good. It did not drag for me. It just had a very solid storyline, and it made a lot of sense. It really made a lot of sense to me. I didn't see too many plot holes in this movie. And if it was, I probably just disregarded and everything because I was just very swept up into the mystery of it and enjoyed it. But that is enough of my time. Thank you so much for joining me with tonight's podcast, The Town That Dreaded Sundown, loosely based murders on the Moonlight murders that happened in Texarkana, Texas, and Texarkana, Arkansas. So, toodle-doo, you have a good night, and thank you for listening to the Random Horror Show.